as we await remarks from the president as soon as he comes down off of Air Force One. Jackie.
Yeah, Harris, 122 days after Hurricane Helene hit this community, it is still recovering. You've got businesses just in ruins on these streets, piles of rubble everywhere, and debris everywhere. People on the ground say that there's really a problem in getting FEMA to approve requests fast enough. We're told Asheville is actually doing better than the surrounding areas. But you had just this month thousands of victims told suddenly that their hotel vouchers were expiring. It prompted frenzied calls from local officials to FEMA to try to get that fixed, including calls from Congressman Chuck Edwards. He represents this district. He is going to be meeting with the president when he lands here today. He supports Trump's calls for a big FEMA overhaul.
What they've done with FEMA is so bad. FEMA is a whole other discussion because all it does is complicate everything. FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. Unless you have certain types of leadership, it gets in the way. And FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems.
Democrats who heard that now scrambling to join the president's fire roundtable in California. Governor Gavin Newsom said he'll be on the tarmac when Trump arrives there later today. It follows threats to withhold disaster aid to that state until they better manage their resources.
There he is, guys. There he is.
And we are watching
a lot of relationships in the Trump world. A lot of relationships of trust. I communicate with a lot of folks around him, folks that have his ear and influence. I don't want, this is a sideshow, a lot of this stuff, but I know it's the show that probably be the focus of a little bit too much tomorrow, when all I care about is what we can do together.
So we're seeing the president just descend the steps of Air Force One. He's on the ground in Fletcher, North Carolina. He'll get a briefing in a hangar there from.
Guys, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Smash the like button. Good morning. Donald Trump is in Asheville, North Carolina, visiting the victims. Speaking about FEMA, later today, he's going to fly over to Los Angeles to confront Gavin Newsom. And then he's going to have a rally in Nevada. Donald Trump is not playing around. He is going hard in the paint. So again, we're going to be covering all of this. As you can see, Donald Trump just landed. That's him and Melania Trump. So here we go.
I cut in on you. Great reporting. But I want to be able to see the scene there with the president. You know, it hasn't been a full week yet, and he is on the ground and doing things that didn't get done contemporaneously under former President Biden. If you'll recall, it took Biden several days to get there, and Trump got there as a candidate. We have, and Jackie, I want to thank you. As these remarks are made, we will come back to you. I want to bring in now, as we watch the president on the tarmac talking to those local officials, as I said that he would, he wants to talk with everyone down there, from the governor all the way down to FEMA, and find out why the recovery efforts have been so slow. And they are punishingly expensive with all that people have lost here. As I mentioned, later today, he'll go to Southern California, where more disaster zones are still forming with fires out there, unfortunately. But for right now, all eyes on North Carolina. Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary.
Did you guys see that clip of Gavin Newsom? Gavin Newsom is scared, ladies and gentlemen. He's scared that Donald Trump is going over there today to confront everything.
What that looks like on the ground, to take it from the ground up and say, yeah, we're going to rebuild this part of America.
You know, it's not just the cost of rebuilding the home that's so punitive. Over the decades, the regulatory environment about permitting, about removal of waste, about which contractors can work when, who's accredited to do the work, the unions involved. The cost of a home is half the physical goods and labor and half the regulations you have to go through to get it done, particularly in a state like California. It's not going to be possible to rebuild California or anywhere else unless these regulations are dramatically changed so that they may have to be removed during this period. And I think not enough people have looked at what this costs. 40% of the cost of a house in California is regulation.
All right, we have the president on the move right now, and we do anticipate at times like this that he would make some remarks, and we want to catch all of that. We can see the microphones coming into place and all of the reporters gathering. Let's watch.
Everybody thought I was going to California. I said, no, I'm stopping in North Carolina first because they've been abused by what's happened. I mean, it's terrible. It should have been done. It should have been, a lot of things should have happened that didn't happen. So we're here. We're going to fix it out. We're working with the gentleman behind me, and you know who they are, and we're going to fix it. And we're going to fix it as fast as you can. It's a massive amount of damage. FEMA has really let us down, let the country down, and I don't know if that's Biden's fault or whose fault it is, but we're going to take over and we're going to do a good job. We're going to assign Mr. Watley, who's fantastic, frankly, and the governor and everybody else that's going to work. We're going to supply the money, supply a lot of the money. Maybe you have to chip in something. You chip in a little something, like maybe 25% or whatever. But we're going to get it done as quickly as we can. And we want to take care of the people of North Carolina. It's so interesting. Everybody's talking about California, and that's a mess. But I said, I'm not going to California until I stop in North Carolina. So here we are. We're going to go visit the site, and we're going to work with probably 3 of the congressmen, Republican congressmen, who've been fantastic, whose areas have been affected, and with Michael Watley, the governor, and whoever else is, we decide to get involved. Probably less FEMA, because FEMA just hasn't done the job. And we're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples of it not working. And there's been some others, like in Louisiana, etc. So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters. Let the state take care of the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the other things that happen. And I think you're going to find it a lot less expensive. You'll do it for less than half, and you're going to get a lot quicker response. So that seems to be the recommendation, but we'll be making that recommendation over the next couple of weeks. We're going to go to the site now, and we're going to figure out a plan for really demolition and cleaning, because not a lot's been done, and we're very disappointed in the Biden administration, but we're going to make up for lost time. And I said I'd do that, and this is about the earliest we could possibly be here. And we're honored to be here. This has been a great state. They're great people, and they've really been mishandled. But this group is going to be great, and we're going to get it taken care of. Any questions?
What will your response to FEMA? Do you expect to ask Congress for additional aid for North Carolina and California?
It will be direct. In other words, the aid will go through us. So rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, and in all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around. Yes.
A lot of Americans think that this is symbolic of what your campaign was all about. America first, putting your priorities to Americans. Even going to California, where their policies might have been one of the biggest reasons why they've had these problems. But you're putting American people first. Your thoughts on that?
We are. Thank you. I like that question. Boy, I want more questions like that. That's even a statement. Thank you very much. He's a good man, that guy. And he's also a very professional reporter, I have to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're putting America first. We're putting, in this case, North Carolina and California. We're going to do a good job in California. That is a disaster like, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like it, frankly. They say the biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation. And I guess I'm going to meet with some government officials. But I mean, much more importantly, and in California, just to revert to it for a second, millions of gallons of water are waiting to be poured down through already the half pipes that are already built. I mean, they've been up for 40 years. And about 20 years ago, they turned off the water. And it's the water that comes from the Pacific Northwest. Some of it comes out of Canada, and it flows there, and it probably has flowed there for 1 million years. And they turned it off, and they routed out to the Pacific. And in the meantime, you don't have water in the hydrants. You don't have water in the sprinkler systems. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And everyone's trying to figure out, why aren't they turning it back? They say it's the Delta smelt. It's a fish. But I find that hard to believe. But we'll figure it out. And without doing that, you're going to continue to have problems.
President, what are you prepared to do, sir, if OPEC doesn't respond to your call to cut oil prices?
Well, we want to see OPEC cut the price of oil, and that will automatically stop the tragedy that's taking place in Ukraine. It's a butchering tragedy for both sides, by the way. A tremendous number of Russian soldiers are dead. Tremendous number of Ukrainian soldiers, and a lot of people are dead from the bombing of the cities. But right now, it's just bullets whacking and hitting men, mostly men, almost in all cases men. And over 1 million men are killed, and they're losing thousands of people a week. It's crazy. It's a crazy war, and it never would have happened if I was president. Would never have happened. This is crazy that it happened, but we want to stop it. Now, one way to stop it quickly is for OPEC to stop making so much money and to drop the price of oil, because they have it nice and high. And if you have it high, that war's not going to end so easily. So OPEC ought to get on the ball, and they ought to drop the price of oil, and that war will stop right away.
Mr. President, funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles: voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote, and I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down and come down to Los Angeles, and also go out to all the farmland that's barren and dry. You know, they have land that they say is the equivalent of the land in Iowa, which is about as good as there is anywhere on earth. The problem is it's artificial, because they artificially stop the water from going onto the land. So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now, you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while. We'll see you at the site. We'll see you at the site.
Tell us more about the deportation flights. Where are they going from? Where are they going to?
Deportation's going very well. We're getting the bad, hard criminals out. These are murderers. These are people that have been as bad as you get, as bad as anybody you've seen. We're taking them out first. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Move to the grass.
All right, I want to give a chance for any shouted questions. Sometimes the president, as he did, he answered that last question that came. That was a news conference pop-up that went almost 15 minutes, and we got a lot of information about not only what the president is anticipating seeing today, but how he intends to help alleviate the pain of the second deadliest hurricane hit area in our history, second only to Katrina. 104 people died in North Carolina alone. And as you know, almost double that amount for the several states that were hit by that Category 4 Hurricane Helene. And really, this is about as much attention as they have gotten since Trump went as a presidential candidate. Yes, Biden went there, but this is different. You heard the president talking about money and about helping FEMA, and he's going to do it by executive order. He's going to go around FEMA. I want to bring back Kevin O'Leary if I can now. Kevin, let's talk. I want to give you a chance to kind of give a reaction to that. It's going to take, as you said, a mighty effort, and it's more than just the rebuild. But it sounds like they're going to get the help they could have used 122 days ago.
In a different way, though, what Trump is saying, let's unpack what he said there. Well, first we'll start with North Carolina, then go to California. He wants to direct the capital directly under the management of the state governor. So the governor of any state, it's the CEO. And the reason he wants to do that is if he's going to give billions of dollars in aid, he wants to be able to measure its effectiveness, how it's being used, to put some kind of milestone in place as he doles out this money and be able to make sure it's being used as it was intended. Now, that was impossible with FEMA because that bureaucracy diluted the amount of capital going to any one location specifically. It was very hard to audit that. So what he's saying is, let's scrape away that bureaucracy and let's give this capital directly to the governors, and then let's check in every month or every quarter or every year and see exactly how that capital was used. And I think every taxpayer, including me, listening to that says, I like that idea. I want some accountability and I want to see executional skills in action.
Okay, before we get to California, I do want to just kind of jump away from this, and I appreciate that answer so much because it really does get to the heart of how this will directly potentially help people much faster than what was being reported to our correspondent, Jackie Heinrich, Kevin, was that FEMA is so slow to release funds and to process things that's why it's taking so long. I argue that DHS, with the border problems, because they've got Homeland, with all that we faced with all of these monster storms this past year, Hurricane Milton and Helene and more, it's gotten too big. And FEMA underneath all of that is exactly what you said, bureaucratic and just slow.
Well, you can't measure it. That's the problem. Anytime you give away billions of dollars through a federal into a state system, who is accountable is the question, because you can just keep pointing fingers at each other. It's the Fed or it's the state. You want to eliminate that. And I think that's what Trump mandate was, coming in saying, look, I'm going to do this whole Doge thing. This is more of the Doge idea, saying, if we give away that much money, let's measure it.
All right, California, Southern California, voter ID and the water released to flow to the people. Those were the two things. And he said, if you do that in California, speaking almost directly to Governor Gavin Newsom, who's really stumbled out of the gate and continues to, when reacting to the latest disaster in his state, the wildfires. What he's saying is, if you do that, the money will flow and the help will come. What's your take on what he's wanting?
Well, he wants to resolve an issue that really doesn't have anything to do with these fires, and that's voter registration for citizenship, number one. No one understands why the water wasn't running, so we need an answer for that. And I've been highly critical of Gavin Newsom's management effectiveness for about a year now. But I will say this, having heard from so many people in California, including our own Shark Tank family, many of our 250 people that work on that show have lost their homes. They need relief now. Now, this is, for Gavin Newsom, in a crazy way, who's been so immensely unpopular in his own state lately, this is his Giuliani moment. If you recall 9/11, nobody knew who Giuliani was. He emerged out of that as a global figure. Now, obviously, he's had other issues since then, but Giuliani and Matt Higgins, his assistant, those two guys rose to fame coming out of that. Right. This is Giuliani's chance to show he's up for it. If he can pull this off, he'll have a political future he doesn't have right now. This is his moment. He better deliver to his people.
Kevin, and I know you were talking about Gavin Newsom there. We're going to go back to Fletcher, North Carolina, the Asheville, North Carolina airport, and the president greeting people impacted by Hurricane Helene.
Hurricane mess all set, okay? Should have been done a long time ago.
Thanks for solving that problem.
Thank you.
Oh
my
God.
Melania, you look beautiful. You're a beautiful first lady.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
She's mine.
Yes.
You are beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. I love yours. Thank you so much. You did too. I'm shaking. You married up, sir.
Love your hat, Mrs. Trump.
All right, we were trying to listen there to see what some of those people, and you could hear, thank you for the help, President Trump. We wanted to kind of hear what those people have said. You know, many of them, and some of us as reporters have been keeping in contact with that part of the state. My first TV market is not far from there. Many people said that they felt like they were unseen after Hurricane Helene and that they had suffered so mightily. And it was across the Appalachian mountain range, and so it crossed several states. Tennessee, others were touched. Some of the worst of that storm, the biggest punishment from Helene, was this area and west of Asheville. So we wanted to listen to those people being heard by the President of the United States. We've got Kevin O'Leary. I want to bring into the conversation Trey Gowdy, Sunday Night in America host, former South Carolina Republican congressman, former federal prosecutor. Trey, good to see you. I know that you are from South Carolina, and some of the communities where you live were affected by Helene. As you see the president touch down today, how critical is it that he goes here first? And he said he felt like he needed to go there first. Yes, California is important. It was later in the game. This area didn't get what it needed when it needed it most.
Well, there are two reasons. One's practical and one's inspirational. Harris, if you came to my home today, I would show you trees that were knocked down by Helene that still have not been moved. And I'm an hour south of Asheville. So my hometown of Spartanburg was absolutely devastated, without power for multiple weeks. You go north to Swannanoa, Asheville, if it weren't for private citizens, private helicopters, that body count would be quadruple what it is now. So there's a symbolism to him going there, but there's also the practical impact. Look, there's a Democrat governor in North Carolina. This has nothing to do with politics. Henry McMaster knows better what South Carolina needs than anybody in D.C. Roy Cooper knew better than anyone in D.C. what North Carolina knew, but FEMA is a federal apparatus and it is too slow. He's exactly right. Grant the money to the states and let the governors decide how many lives could have been solved if Roy Cooper was controlling this recovery, or Chuck Edwards, as opposed to some nameless, faceless bureaucrat in D.C.
Well, look, you used the word solved. I want to talk about lives saved, because if you remember, it was days later that they discovered that beautiful family of 11 people. We don't know how long others may have suffered after the hurricane, because it was so hard to get up into those areas of Appalachia, Swannanoa that you were mentioning, and so many others. And so FEMA, you know, it's just so filled with red tape, not being able to get there, not being able to process, not being able to do what it needed to do. And its leadership not on the ground for quite some time. Look, we were on the ground before they were. In some instances, not every, but in some instances. I want to piggyback off of what you were saying, though, Troy, because it's so important. All right, so you were talking about the debris that you still see in South Carolina, about an hour south of where the president is here. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers update shows Hurricane Helene recovery is less than 50% done as of yesterday, 122 days after being hit. People involved in the cleanup are telling our reporter Jackie Heinrich FEMA is not approving requests fast enough. They have not touched the waterways. And I want to be careful how I phrase this and not be indelicate. I've had sources on the ground from the beginning say that may be where you find more victims in all of this. More than 1 million cubic yards of debris have been removed so far. But this is the part that you spoke of, Trey. More than 2 million cubic yards of vegetation still have not been picked up.
I didn't wait on FEMA. I paid a friend to come haul off stuff from our yard. I mean, people aren't waiting on government. They're using their own resources if you have the resources.
Right.
Right. Well, if you have the resources, most people don't have the resources to say, hey, one of my employees, a tree split her family's house into, it's now a duplex. It went from a home to a duplex. So if they didn't have family members to go stay with, FEMA wasn't on the ground putting them in a hotel. It was the community doing it together, which is why Kevin is right and Trump is right. Let the governors handle it, not bureaucrats in D.C.
Talk to me, if you can, about because I know you've been there. I have been, but it's been many years. about just trying to reach people still who may need help. Are we talking about a lot of people? You know the territory.
Oh, Harris, there are certain places in Western North Carolina, think about Cashiers, where there's literally one road. And if that road is gone, I mean, Asheville is a vibrant city. It is on most people's top 50 cities in the U.S. It is vibrant. It was literally cut off. It was cut off. If it were not for Franklin Graham and others flying helicopters in there, that body count would be much, much, much higher.
We were just watching the President of the United States, and they were clapping, giving him applause. Some of the people who greeted him at the airport who were among the victims, those people most affected by Hurricane Helene. He is now in a motorcade and going to that first site. He was talking about what he might see at that first site. I want to bring back, do we have Kevin O'Leary, and maybe all three of us can chat for just a moment? Is that possible? Because I want to talk now and shift gears a little bit to California for one. Kevin, you had said over the last year you were critical of how Governor Gavin Newsom had run things. I want to hear from you, Trey, if you could, on what you've witnessed from out there, kind of from afar, saying, yeah, this is what needs to be done.
Well, I don't want to get him in trouble, Harris, but you know, Kevin McCarthy's one of my best friends. And when they had a fire several years ago, President Trump, then Congressman McCarthy, went and toured with Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, and they both said, this is what you need to do to prevent the next calamity. And Gavin Newsom quite candidly prioritized fish over people. He prioritized his environmental causes over human life. So this may be, I don't ever disagree with Mr. Wonderful, but this could have been his Giuliani moment, except he blew it years ago. He should have prevented this fire, not just react to it. You've got environmental concerns that are trumping human life in California.
Well, look, if anybody had a doubt that the fire season isn't even officially there, and from what we understand, they had, downloaded whatever they did with that reservoir. I haven't gotten a straight word out of it yet from sources. I'm still waiting. We want every detail. What'd you do that water wasn't able to flow from the reservoir? But whatever happened there, they were offline reportedly because it's not exactly fire season. Well, fire burns when fire burns, and then it spreads because we had hurricanes, force winds, and now we have new fires. So I say in Arizona, where I have a home, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Kevin, this is heartbreaking. And really, from what Trey is saying, we had a chance to prevent some of this.
It's not just Los Angeles. You think of the devastation that's occurred here, and I've got it heartfelt from the people there. But it's also San Francisco, which is currently a war zone. And you just think of policy in the state regarding taxes and regulation and Chevron leaving, which was a core company that built the wealth of California over 100 years ago. All of this is negative. So I'd argue for Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. I mean, this is really the microscopic focus on them. It's like an ant being fried by magnifying glass. They're going to have to deal with this and execute every day. And people they're on the ground homeless. They have to change the laws to even remove the burnt lumber. And so this stuff has to start happening very, very quickly, or none of this is going to work. And think about the Olympics in 3 years and 2 months. That's not going to happen in LA if it's still a burnt wasteland.
Look, we are watching on the top right box of your screen, and now I've replaced it. But what we were watching there was the motorcade that is heading to a hangar there at the airport where the president will now get a briefing. And you saw some of the North Carolina officials on the tarmac with him, but then he turned to go spend some time, rightfully so, with the people. And while he was doing that, people were pulling into place for this briefing that's coming up. We don't exactly know how long that will take or what that will look like, but we are all over the story. This is huge for those people on the ground in North Carolina.
That plane is huge.
Even beyond that, for all of this to be focused on in this point, Trey, you said something so important. This is not about politics. This is about Americans. And Americans who got left out.
Yeah. It's about practicality and inspiration. So North Carolina is a bipartisan state. The governor and the AG are both Democrats. You got Tom Tillis, Ted Budd, Chuck Edwards that are Republicans. Politics doesn't matter when you need water. Politics doesn't matter when the roof is off your house or your family members are missing. Look, Asheville is hard to get to. I get that. I-26 is the best way to get there. But helicopters, I mean, Franklin Graham's not the only guy in the world that has a helicopter. FEMA dropped the ball. While if it weren't for these private entities, that body count, which still may go up, Harris, would be exponentially higher than what it is now.
So, Kevin, I don't know if you heard me say with Trey moments ago that the waterways, according to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, have not been tackled yet. And that's where sources have told me on the ground, and I'm sure this has been publicly reported now after 122 days, that's where we could see more victims. So I think, Trey, that's what you're talking about. We're looking at the Department of Public Safety, Asheville Regional Airport, where the President of the United States landed a few moments ago, and now he's going to this hangar at the airport for a briefing. And that's where you see all of those officials, some of the ones that Trey just mentioned, all of those officials are seated. So we'll hear from everybody from emergency management to public works, anybody who has anything to say in an update for the Commander-in-Chief. I want to get your thoughts on this, Kevin.
This is very inspirational for every American, because this is what you want the Commander-in-Chief to do, to take it, take a problem like this, make it personal, look them in the eyes, go there and say, look, I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to figure it out. That is what a leader does. And I think Trump is scoring huge points doing this so early in his mandate. This is just days from when we were all in Washington, the inauguration. This is what you're supposed to do. It gives comfort to people in other states. They know when they get hit like this, they'll have somebody in the White House who actually cares. And I think that messaging is exactly what got Trump elected with majority mandate in the first place, someone that's emotionally involved with them, directly connected. But I would think the branding of FEMA now is so damaged that agency has to either change its name or get eradicated. I mean, all it means to people now is failed management. That's what FEMA, that's the definition of FEMA now. Failed management. And I think it's got to be changed, basically, because it doesn't work.
Trey, your thoughts? And we see the president pulling up and into place here. If those microphones come on, I will cut in. Let's just listen for a second and see what is about to happen here. Let's watch together.
A little cold outside, but you're getting used to the cold. And one of the things that are very important to me, and one of the reasons I'm happy that we won so convincingly, is to help North Carolina get fixed up. They supported us in record numbers, and I'm supporting them in record numbers too. And they had me set. I wanted to go to Los Angeles and see what was going on with California, why they aren't releasing the water. Millions and millions of gallons of water. They're sending it out to the Pacific. Someday somebody's going to explain that one. In the meantime, they have no water in Los Angeles where they had the problems. But so we're going there. But I said, well, what about North Carolina? Well, you could do that. No, I can't. I said, we're stopping in North Carolina first, and then we're going to Los Angeles. And we just appreciate the outpouring of love that we've had here. Laura was, as you know, very instrumental in the campaign. And she lived here and is loved, and we appreciate it. And Michael Watley has been incredible, wherever Michael is. Hello, Michael. Michael Watley has been great, and your congressmen have been great. And what we thought we'd do is take a quick look around. First, we wanted to do this. I want to say that we're very disappointed in FEMA. Your new governor, it's not his fault. He's brand new to the whole situation. But we're going to work together with the governor. We're going to work together with the senators, but really we're going to work a lot with your congressmen, especially the three that are in the area, and Michael Watley. And I'd like to put Michael in charge of making sure everything goes well. And Franklin Graham has been unbelievable. We've made a big contribution to Franklin, and we'll continue to do so. But I've been hearing nothing but praise for the job that Samaritan's Purse has done with Franklin. And we appreciate it. Where is Franklin? He's around here someplace. And that good-looking guy, he's always been a good-looking guy. His father was a good-looking guy, too, I'll tell you. We loved his father, right? I saw his father in the latter years, and I said, well, he doesn't have long to go. He was having a hard time, and he lived about 3 or 4 years after that, right? They say it was good stock. He had the ultimate good stock. But I want to thank you, frankly. You've been fantastic here, and everywhere he goes, he's always the first one I see. People don't realize it, how good it is. A lot of people, they go, well, maybe it's for the people that he's got, and you guys know because you're here, but the people that he's got have done amazing work. So I just want to thank everybody. We're going to get over and take a look. We'll say a few words. I do want to introduce some of the people that we have, and our First Lady. We'll start with our First Lady. She wanted to be here because of North Carolina, and then I said, well, you can do that, but you're going to have to come to California, too. And she said, that's okay. And we got to fix that one up, too. Do you ever see anything like that one? It's, who would have thought that could have happened? So, Governor Josh Stein, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we're going to have a very long and good relationship. Representatives, maybe stand up if you would, so the press can see. Representatives Chuck Edwards. Chuck, thank you. Thank you, Chuck. Tim Moore. Virginia, Virginia Fox, a legend. She is such a powerful woman. Pat Harrigan. Pat, thank you very much. Your Agriculture Commissioner, who I hear is excellent, Steve Troxler. Steve, thank you very much. Good job, Steve. You got plenty to do, right? More than you ever thought. North Carolina Speaker Dustin Hall. Thank you, Dustin. Thanks, Dustin. Very good. House Majority Leader Brendan Jones. Brendan, thank you very much. We're making progress, Brendan. State Representatives Dudley Green, Carl Gillespie. Thank you very much, fellas. Good. Good. Thank you very much. State Senators Kevin Corbin, Warren Daniel. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kevin, Warren. And County Commissioner Jennifer Best. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. So Hurricane Helene was one of the worst natural disasters in American history. It was far worse than it was even billed. I have never seen such water damage. It was largely water damage, wind damage, but water damage nobody's ever seen. I've been here, as you know, numerous times, but now I'm here in a position where we can do something, meaning I've been in office for 4 days, and I wanted to come sooner, but actually they had a little problem with getting logistically in here, but I would have been here even sooner. 104 North Carolinians have lost their lives. Is that now a fairly firm number, or are they still finding people? What do you think? They're still finding people? Pretty much okay? It's a lot of people. 104 people lost their lives. 73,000 homes were severely damaged or destroyed. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of them, and this was like lots of hurricanes in one. I've never seen such damage done by water. And the water came, it was violent, and it left, and there was like nothing left. It's really pretty amazing. At one point, half of the emergency calls to FEMA went unanswered. That's real bad. FEMA was not doing their job. The city of Asheville went without running water for 2 months. A whistleblower testified that some FEMA employees refused to help people who displayed Trump signs on their properties. I think that's true, isn't it? I read that. It's not nice. That's not too nice, is it? But whoever those property people were, thank you very much. Michael, is that true? That's not good, huh? About the property owners, you put a Trump sign on and they wouldn't help? FEMA. Earlier this year, FEMA kicked 2,000 North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into below freezing temperatures. What was that all about? You know about that? What happened? Tell me.
We had an incompetent administration under Biden, and we had a disaster, and we call it the disaster after the disaster. That was the FEMA response.
You had nothing but disaster since then. It doesn't matter at this point. Biden did a bad job. Some residents still don't have hot water, drinking water, or anything else, and many of them don't have quarters. They don't have anything. They got a stipend for what they lost, and we're going to take care of it. This is totally unacceptable, and I'll be taking strong action to get North Carolina the support that you need to quickly recover and rebuild. We're working on it very hard. And I think if Michael Whatley does half as good a job for North Carolina as he did for my campaign, we'll be very happy. Him and Laura were a very powerful team. So you think you can handle it, Michael? I don't know. I'm not sure, Michael. I think this is maybe in many ways easier, okay? Maybe easier. But you're going to lead the team. Do you want to say who the congressmen are that you want to appoint? Do you want to introduce them?
We have Virginia Fox, Chuck Edwards, and Tim Moore, whose districts encompass the area.
And they are the districts that were most severely impacted, right? You were affected then, Virginia?
Yes, lost my own driveway.
Really? No. I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, I think you want to go and whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA. And then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area. They've never been to the area, and they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away. And we pay directly. We pay a percentage to the state. But the state should fix this. If the state did this from the beginning, it would have been a lot better situation. I think you guys agree with that, right? So I just want to say that Asheville, I know it well. It's a great place, and we're going to have it be a great place again. That was the one that was most severely affected. But North Carolina is going to come back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And you're going to be very thankful. And you've already seen, I know that it really began 4 days ago, but you've already seen more action than you have in the last 3 months. And we're going to get it together. We're informing the Army Corps of Engineers to get going because you have a lot of river breaks and a lot of areas that you're going to need some pretty big work. And they're on their way. They're going to be working much harder than they've been working in the past, and we're going to take care of it. Any questions from the press of any of the congressman, governor, anybody?
So are you going to sign an executive order on FEMA, getting rid of it? Can you say more about signing an executive order to get rid of FEMA, please?
FEMA has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow. Other than that, we're very happy with them. Okay, and I think when there's a problem with the state, I think that problem should be taken care of by the state. That's what we have states for. They take care of problems. And a governor can handle something very quickly. You know, one of the things I've noticed, because I've been doing this for a while, and we had a pretty good FEMA, but I also noticed that when they come, fighting all the time over who does what, it's
guys, he's making moves, guys.
This system is so beautifully designed over 250 years approximately, you know, and we'll soon be celebrating the 250th year. It's going to be a very big celebration. But it's been designed very well, and we're going to leave it that way. When North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, when everybody knows the governor of Tennessee, I think, everybody. Do you know everybody here, pretty much? I never thought of it, but you're right over the ridge.
Right over the
So you're here to help. That's great.
The people in this region, including Tennessee, the people of Appalachia, are grateful that you are here and that you haven't forgotten them. And that there are other disasters, but this one was enormous for both North Carolina and Tennessee. So thank you.
You know, I've seen a lot of disasters. And when I came here right after, the day after. And when I came here, I couldn't believe it, actually. I couldn't believe the damage. And I've seen a lot of them. This was more like a tornado than it was what we witnessed. So we're going to get it very much taken care of. Good job. That's nice that you came. And so you call it you're right over the ridge, right, Tennessee?
Right over the ridge, yes.
I like Tennessee, too. Let's see, where did I get more votes, Tennessee or North Carolina? I hate to tell you, North Carolina, it was Tennessee.
There's one of the counties in this disaster that at 88% for you. So
88%. Yeah, no, it's the people are just incredible people.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions, press?
President, you talked about conditions being placed on aid to California, voter ID and the like. Are there any conditions that you're going to put on aid to North Carolina?
We're going to do a lot for North Carolina. Yeah. They've been very slow. I don't know why it's been so bad. This has been one of the worst I've seen. Katrina, of course, was something that obviously that was a long time ago. That was not good. But this has been very slow. I don't know if that was for political reasons because they lost the state. Biden lost the state. Maybe he felt he doesn't care. Maybe there were other reasons. I don't know. But this has been very slow. By any standard, this has been very slow. And we're gonna make up for lost time.
No conditions you're going to push for aid.
Well, in California, I have a condition. In California, we want them to have voter ID so the people have a voice, because right now the people don't have a voice because you don't know who's voting, and it's very corrupt. And we also want them to release the water. If they released the water, they wouldn't have had a problem. If they released the water when I told them to, because I told them to do it 7 years ago, if they would have done it, you wouldn't have had the problem that you had. You might not have even had a fire. So, but here I don't have that. It's a different thing. You got hit by a storm. The people are incredible. They worked really well. Franklin was fantastic, and other groups. By the way, other groups came in that were also fantastic. And other states came in, Tennessee and a couple of others came in, and they really helped. That's the way it's supposed to be. No, this is a different kind of a thing.
Mr. President, have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief in North Carolina?
About what?
Have you decided how much funding you would allocate for disaster relief?
I haven't just. I have to see what it is.
Mr. President,
Are you disappointed that Senator Schiff hasn't joined you on this trip? It's reported you invited Senator Schiff to join you on this trip and he was too busy. Are you disappointed?
I don't know. I was told that Schiff was going to travel with us to California. I wasn't thrilled, to be honest with you. And I saw him last night on television. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him? Something happened to him. It looked like he got hit. It looked like he got beat around. But I'll ask Caroline to find out what happened to him. No, if he wanted to come out, I would have done that. But I don't know. Somebody said that he wanted to come on the plane, but I think he's staying back for the votes. There's some pretty good votes going on. Yeah.
Mr. President, what is your timeline for getting rid of FEMA?
For this one.
You just talked about possibly getting rid of FEMA. What timeline are you looking at, and how would you do that?
Well, we're looking here. Here, you're talking about. To start, we're going to start immediately timeline. And to finish, it's going to be a period of time. People are also rebuilding their houses. How long does it take to build a house, right? It takes some time. And I want them to build houses bigger, better, nicer than they had before, so they can have, at least they get something out of this disaster. This was a real disaster. No, timeline will be fast. In terms of infrastructure, I think very fast. I want to thank Elon, because Elon was able to get us communication systems, as you know, Starlink. We had no communication. The first day I got here, I was asked by one of the people, one of the really great representatives, professionals, that is there any way you could get Starlink here, because they had no communication whatsoever. And I called up Elon Musk, and he had, hundreds of units brought here, brought immediately. And it's hard to get. They couldn't get them before. And that made a lot of difference. I think it saved a lot of lives, actually. Yeah. Infrastructure-wise, we'll do it quickly.
Sir, can you just talk about how long you think it might take to get rid of FEMA? What's the timeline on that? If we're going to roll it back.
Yeah, I would say, look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really thinking about FEMA right now here. I'm thinking about Michael Watley, and I'm thinking about the 3 Congress people that you just heard from, and also the other people in Congress, and they'll be working with the governor. So that's what I see.
Change the subject real quickly. The Lakin Riley Act was signed by Speaker Johnson yesterday.
Right.
When do you anticipate to sign that?
Well, we're honored by that. Lakin Riley, I was there at the time, and we had a big meeting with the parents right after that horrible thing took place. And we have an act. You all know what that act represents. And it was a bipartisan bill. Many Democrats signed onto it. That's something that is a tribute to Lakin, a beautiful young lady who was killed viciously by an illegal alien. And we passed a very powerful bill, and it was just approved, and we'll have a ceremony sometime very shortly. I'll be signing it. In other words, if you're asking, I will definitely be signing it. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think, when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But, you work for government. We took some off other people, too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you work for government. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Would you feel partially responsible if something were to happen to, say, Dr. Fauci or John Bolton?
No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
North Carolina is a state that relies on trade and manufacturing. Are you going to have an announcement on new tariffs coming soon? Is there a timeline now?
Yeah, the tariffs are going to make our country rich. We're going to be a rich, rich country very soon. Tariffs are going to make it rich, and competence. We have common sense, competence, and tariffs. The word tariff is one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary.
Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary of the United Kingdom, said that there's an even trade between the U.S. and the UK, so they shouldn't have tariffs. Does trade imbalances or a balanced trade affect tariffs and your decisions?
Yeah, unbalanced and balance, and also deficits. Like with Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them to make cars. We allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make the same products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that, bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep Canada going? And what would happen? I asked him, what would happen if we didn't do that? If we didn't subsidize Canada? He said, we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state. Because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. We're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. I said, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade. Historically, Canada has been very, very bad to us, very unfair to us on trade. So we'll see how it all works out. I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained. But just to start off, they'd have a massive tax cut, and they'd have a lot more business because then we'd let business go to Canada routinely, and there'd be no tariffs. If we did that, there'd be no tariffs.
So the United Kingdom might be in a better spot then.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a great asset to the state. Talk a little bit about the way the Samaritan Purse has helped North Carolina.
Yes, once again, the first.
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a big part of Samaritan Purse and their aid to North Carolina. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Franklin Graham has been a big asset to the state. His father was a big asset to the state, to the country, both of them. I just think this. I think Franklin and other people that are doing what Franklin have done, but I've known Franklin so long. He was at the inauguration. He made a speech, beautiful prayer. He does a great job. And we made a big donation, and it was money well spent. Sometimes you make donations, it's not well spent. He's done a great job here. He's done a really great job. So I want to thank you. We're going to the site now, and one of the sites, and for those that haven't seen it, you won't even believe it, but not enough work was done. We'll get it done fast. And I can speak for the Republican congressman. We're going to knock it out, right? We're going to knock it out. And I think we take it very personally, because North Carolina was very unfairly treated. Very, very unfairly treated. And it was obvious. It was too obvious. And we're going to make up for lost time. So thank you to the people of North Carolina. Thank you, everybody.
President Trump there being flanked by all of the on-the-ground officials in North Carolina. He talked somewhat about Tennessee as well, and he wanted to bring attention to the Tennessee officials who were there with him because, of course, just over the ridge of the Appalachia mountain range, they were hit hard by Hurricane Helene as well. So that was part of this, what turned out to be more than remarks, a news conference. I want to bring back Kevin O'Leary and Trey Gowdy and just get last quick thoughts from each of you. This was a lot of information, a lot of focus now on FEMA. And Trey, honestly, I'm a little confused about whether or not you take away FEMA and replace it with executive actions for just North Carolina, or if he's talking about it as a whole as an agency. What did you take away?
Both. Immediately, he's going to bypass FEMA and use Michael Watley to get what North Carolina needs. In the long term, he's going to do away with FEMA. You may have one coordinator to make sure the money gets to the states that are hit by natural disasters, but I read both into that.
And Kevin O'Leary, just real quickly before we let you go, off topic a bit here, but something that the president has kept his eye on as they begin to go to that first site in North Carolina and see some of the damage that still remains. TikTok, are you going to buy it? Are you ready?
Yes, we are. And I think a lot of hype and a lot of, it's just when you have no information, you get speculation. But I'll tell you one thing about this deal that's so complicated. No one's read the order from the Supreme Court 9-0 decision. That's a unanimous decision by all justices. They further defined it in page 5 and 6. You can't use the Chinese algorithm. The only deal that has replacement tech is McCourt O'Leary. So I think it all comes back to us.
All right. Good luck with that. I know there are a lot of TikTok users who will love it. And right now, the president paying attention to North Carolina, Tennessee, and those hit by Hurricane Helene. Gentlemen, thank you. Outnumbered now.
Well, this is a Fox News alert. You are looking at the aftermath of President Trump's press conference in the Asheville airport. This was about Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene was the second deadliest storm to hit the U.S. mainland in 55 years. And you heard the commander-in-chief there with a bit of breaking news, an executive order potentially getting rid of FEMA, instructing his government.
All right, we got this melting down. Make sure to stick with me here. We should be getting it back sooner than later. We're getting thrown off here. As we get thrown off, we can also go to
airport.
All right, we're back.
This was about Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene was the second deadliest storm to hit the U.S. mainland in 55 years. And you heard the commander-in-chief there with a bit of breaking news, an executive order potentially getting rid of FEMA, instructing his government.
All right, guys. We're getting some buffers here. Something's going on with Fox News. What do you guys think? Are you guys going to be in tune for what's coming?
Business. And Dr. Mark.
For some reason, this thing is having a meltdown. So let me know what you guys think overall about all of this. Donald Trump will be in North Carolina for all these hours. Also, Donald Trump is going to California. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, Donald Trump is headed to California to confront what's been going on with, of course, Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom threw a tantrum yesterday. He was saying a whole lot of things about Donald Trump and everything else. So again, something's going on. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Make sure to smash the like button. I don't know how many likes we got, but please make sure to smash the like button right away. If you guys can, that would be amazing to get as many likes as possible on this. Show us the video. I didn't see it. What video are you guys talking about? Again, Donald Trump he's just going to be all around. Right now, he's just going to be all around North Carolina sites, and then he's going to be live, to go to California. So I want to be live when he goes to California. I really just wanted to show you guys exactly what he has going on out there. Somebody said I just did a Hitler salute. You mean what's the salute? My heart goes out to you. It's not a salute, man. My heart goes out to you. All right, let's see what the update here is.
They said they'll pull it up in just a moment, but let me read it for you here, Dagan. What do the states of the storm zone need? And President Biden didn't hear, so he beckoned the reporter to ask again. And then he said, oh, the storm zone. I didn't know which storm you were talking about.
That's not surprising. And this is political, not just at the federal level, but at the state level. And I want to remind people of Governor Roy Cooper, then the governor of North Carolina, that when the storm hit, only 410 National Guard were activated. That is 4% of North Carolina's National Guard. 6 days after the storm hit, only about 1/10 of North Carolina's National Guard was activated. And it took 6 days after Helene made landfall on October 2nd for Governor Roy Cooper to request active duty troops, 1,000 at that time, but almost a week. And even at that moment, these are facts, they were not given command and control by the governor. And so even if this falls back to the states, as President Trump talked about, the states have a better command of how these funds can be dispersed. But if you are run by someone who is incompetent, and you can look at California as well, then that does not help. And I will just leave it there, because the only reason lives were saved and not more people died in North Carolina is because of the vast private army of helicopter pilots who flew into the mountains, people I know who were delivering aid and rescuing people day after day after day when there was no one there but private citizens and people from groups like Samaritan's Purse. And it's a disgrace to this nation that it was led by Joe Biden in that way.
Emily, any moment from now, President Trump's about to meet with victims in North Carolina. And I just want to remind our viewers, these 230 people, they're not numbers, they're not statistics, they're human beings. The Craig family lost 11 family members in North Carolina. Imagine that. In a moment's time, 11 members of your family wiped away. Many people still living in tents. We have some pictures of that we'll pull up. Living in tents. This happened months ago. And then Megan Dry lost her little son, Mike.
People are living in tents in the United States of America? No way, man.
And Micah said this. Micah always wanted to be a superhero, Megan said about her son. Instead, he's my hero because he reached for something past flesh, past human, past anything that even grown adults reach for. My son called out to the God Almighty. This is what this moment is about for President Trump. Touching these people, speaking to these people, hugging these people.
Those unfathomable.
What a great move here by Donald Trump. I know that he wants to go to Los Angeles. A lot of people want him to go to Los Angeles, as you can see the victims right here. But what a great move, man. On the 5th day, is today the 5th day, guys? Today's the 24th. Is today the 4th day? Guys, I don't even know. He's been president now for what, 4 days? What's the date today? Just want to make sure I get it right. Today's the 24th. So I think this is the 4th day in office officially. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a blockbuster move, because now he's coming from here, visiting people, letting people know that he cares about them, and then he's gonna go fly to California, and then he's going to Nevada. So he's not playing around. I told you guys, it seems like he's taking domestic issues first. Doesn't really want to deal with anything overseas yet. Doesn't want to deal with foreign anything yet in the first 4 or 5 days. He wants to deal with as many things as he possibly could domestically. That's what it seems like to me. And I can't wait to see the look on Gavin Newsom's face later. I really can't.
Now, and I
really can't. Because when he lands in California, he's going to be able to see the truth. And he's going to take everybody with him. We're going to be covering it live. Everybody's going to be covering it live. And this is what it's all about, right? Meeting with the victims on one side. Then, I mean, I'm going to be honest, in 4 days, it feels like a month. He's gotten so many things done, guys, that it feels like he's been president over a month already. So again, California fires, big topic. How they started, big topic. Could they have been avoided? That's a big topic. There's a lot of big topics as a whole. And we're about to find out. We're about to find out a lot of things about the California fires and Donald Trump and also Gavin Newsom. So that's going to be very interesting. And as Trump said, he was supposed to be flying over there with Adam Schiff, but Adam Schiff, I guess he had some votes in the House that he needed to take care of. So again, that's what's going on. Let me see, what else do we have?
Federal government, that it took so long for FEMA to even approach doing what it needs to do. We still have 2 million cubic pounds of debris on the ground from Helene. That could take a long time to cubic feet, a long time to pick up. They've only picked up 1 million cubic feet in debris, and it's been 122 days.
Dr. Siegel, I think another thing worth mentioning when we think about FEMA is the scandal it's enveloped in that did not get the appropriate attention because we were in the middle of the election and its aftermath. This is from the Daily Wire. Government employees told the Daily Wire that at least 20 homes with Trump signs or flags were skipped from the end of October and into November due to the guidance, meaning they were not given the opportunity to qualify for FEMA assistance. Images shared with the Daily Wire show houses were skipped over by the workers who wrote in the government system messages things such as Trump sign, no entry per leadership. This is at the crux of Trump's problem with FEMA.
What a disgrace that is, the politicization of everything in the midst of a national disaster, which has been called a national disaster. And look at the contrast here between President Trump marching in with large S to, by the way, something the mainstream media always overlooks it a week afterwards. They forgot about North Carolina. Their eye is now in California. Forget about North Carolina. Meanwhile, I can tell you medically, homes that were destroyed, the injuries that occurred, the people that were displaced, the mold that's growing on the walls, 13,000 people in FEMA shelters. Listen to this, Kaylee. FEMA has $27 billion in its budget that Biden just gave them. And what's it doing with it? You just said they're politicizing a national disaster. Biden was like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain that said, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, doing nothing, just pulling levers, where President Trump comes in, puts a spotlight back where it belongs on an area that's still devastated.
And the symbolism here that the first trip out of Washington, D.C. would be to North Carolina. Amid all of these natural disasters, we saw him go to East Palestine when the current president took a long time to do that, and then to North Carolina when the former president took nearly a week to do that. All right, we'll keep you updated as President Trump gives an update on the deportation flights. He's also about to meet with victims. We will take you to that when it happens. But for now, we will tell you about the criminal migrants being rounded up as we speak and sent out of the country in a single file line of adult males onto an airplane.
President Donald J.
All right. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to leave you guys there. Make sure to comment down below. Donald Trump, I'm going to let him do what he does. I'm very, very interested in what's going to happen in California tonight. So he should be there later on in the afternoon. I'm going to schedule that live stream so we can all get together. But the one thing I need you guys to do is smash that like button right now. Let's get over 3,000 likes plus. I really want to know how you guys feel about the North Carolina situation. These are questions. Again, I'm one of those people that my number one question right now is 100% about the drones. 100% about the drones. But these are some of the things that we as a country specifically us on these live streams, have been talking about, the way they handled Hurricane Helene and the way FEMA handled Hurricane Helene in North Carolina was devastating. It's pretty crazy. And a lot of people didn't want to believe what FEMA was doing as a whole, as a company, as whatever. Anyways, my point being here is we're getting exactly what we voted for. Now, Trump going to California also tells you that his game face is on with how he really wants to handle California. California is a huge state, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of the biggest states. I know Alaska is the biggest state in the United States of America, but I think it should be second or third. I'm not sure, but it's a huge state with so many people. One thing he says, it's voter ID, claiming that a lot of people are voting without IDs, and we don't know the truth. And a lot of Californians want to know the truth of what the actual number of U.S. citizens that are actually voting. So again, a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys. Smash the like button, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Thank you so much for your donations as well.